massive wrestling fan as well, ever since I was a kid pretty much. So again, the characters are useful, and just it's a purpose built, it's a custom made character for wrestling shows. I kind of realised that after doing it for a while. It's just like this character fits into wrestling shows possibly better than it fits into anything else. It's like because everyone in wrestling is kind of larger than life, and to a certain extent kind of cartoonish and huge exaggeration of kind of recognisable characters and stuff. So I thought like it really does fit in very well. So it's kind of always been a dream of mine to get involved in wrestling shows somehow. So I was quite lucky. Well, not that lucky in the sense that my first introduction to wrestling was getting my ass kicked around a boxing ring, which is even harder than a wrestling ring to bump around. But then since then I got involved in ICW. I was really lucky. I'd made a couple of appearances at first, just kind of run-ins and stuff. I did a song, one of the kind of earlier shows. And then Dallas, the promoter behind ICW, actually gave me my own tag team to manage, the Bucky Boys. And it's been great. It's like I had no idea at the time when I started doing the earlier shows quite how much like ICW was going to grow as a company. So I'm so happy about that. I've been able to kind of keep my spot there and see it just develop to where it is now. So we're just on those upwards for that. It should always be less about me and more about the wrestlers there, the kind of talent in the ring. So I'm very aware, very chuffed with my spot, and that I get to come out pretty much do a bit of stand-up in terms of my promo, introduce them, and then they do their thing. You know what I mean? They kind of steal the show with athleticism. But I've always been aware of that it's like a wrestling show should be about wrestlers. You know what I mean? So it has. I have always been kind of. There's been times actually when I've been involved in matches, and I'm always I'm quite careful not to get too much over on the trained established wrestlers. Not just because it looks ridiculous, like a guy my size coming in and like pinning a guy that's twice my size and trained. But it's always just about the show, and if I come in and like start actually wrestling and start winning belts myself, it just kind of that cheapens the show and it makes it look ridiculous. So I'm very kind of conscious of my sport. Yeah, well, it has been in the last couple of years. I'll be honest, like I didn't. It's not like I was always inclined to stand up, mostly through my dad and stuff, my brother. But for some reason I'd never been aware of Mitch Hedberg up until the last few years. I don't know how I came across it. I was maybe just watching general stand-ups on YouTube. But when I started watching videos of him, I was kind of blown away by how skilled a joke writer he was. He was one of the most underrated joke writers there's ever been, and just a fascinating guy to watch on stage as well, because he's very, very nervous. He's got this really awkward style, which is really unique to him, which would not work in most people's hands. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of comedians go up, particularly the kind of first time when they're starting, they're quite awkward and nervous, and even if the material's great, it really hurts them because it makes people uncomfortable. But for him somehow, his stage fright just really worked as a kind of that's just awkward, almost like character he was doing. It's fascinating reading about something like he goes on stage with shades. Sometimes doesn't even open his eyes. I read that sometimes when he was particularly nervous, he would just go in and stand with his back to the audience and just tell his jokes with his back to him, because his stage fright was so bad. There's obviously pitfalls to that, because I think to deal with his stage fright, he started taking more drugs and stuff, which obviously led to a kind of untimely demise. So it's just a really kind of really tragic element to it that a guy that was that talented died too young, and we never got to see where he could have went from there, because like I was saying, he's like one of the most underrated there is. There's a bunch that I'm afraid about not doing justice. I had a parrot, and he could talk, man, but he never learned to say I'm hungry, so it is dead. Great stuff, man.